Hey guys, it's Amanda here. Yes, I'm sitting on the floor next to this lovely table. Got a blanket covering all my junk up there. I'm trying to get some sunlight, but it's kind of a cloudy day outside, and just the way my room is right now, this is the best I can get. So I'm trying to sit in the sunlight so you can actually see what I'm filming. So that's why I'm sitting here on the floor next to a table. But anyways, by popular demand, I am going to be showing you guys today, for this Tutorial Tuesday, how to do the corner to corner crochet method. And if you don't know what that is, Google it right now. Pause the video, go Google corner to corner crochet, or it's sometimes called C2C, corner to corner, and go look up some pictures. It's really cool. I'll show you a project that I'm working on using this method right now. Gotta kind of lean back so I can fit on the camera. The reason it's called corner to corner is because when you work a project with this method, you work corner to corner. And you're kind of going to be working with these blocks. So you crochet a block in the first corner. And then you're going to crochet a block here and here. And then in those groups, you crochet a block, block, block. I'll show you what I'm talking about because that probably didn't make much sense. So you start in the corner here and you crochet the first block. Then your next row, you crochet 1, 2 blocks. Then your third row, you crochet 3 blocks. And you kind of work, and you're going to start working and almost making this like triangle shape. And that's when you're increasing the corner to corner project. And then you're going to go ahead and decrease the corner to corner project. And that's going to make the triangle come back in, and you'll work from this corner, and you'll get to a corner up on this side. I'm not done with this project yet, so that's why it's just a big triangle right now. But it's really cool because you can make different projects with it. It's great for blankets. It's also really cool because you can almost make pictures with it. If you've ever seen like graphgans, that's basically where you use different color yarns to create like a picture. So it's almost like each of these blocks acts like a pixel. So you can make each of these blocks any color you want. And so just like on a computer screen, if you have a bunch of different colored pixels arranged next to each other, it makes a full picture. You can do the same idea with this process. So let's look at our tutorial for today. So I'm going to be using this sugar and cream yarn, cotton yarn. The color I'm using here, this is tangerine. And then as far as hook goes, I'm going to use this hook by Boy, and it is size G. So to start the corner to corner, you're going to make a chain. And this involves a lot of chains and double crochets, because the idea is you're going to make these squares that are going to stack along each other, and you're going to work corner to corner, and it'll make sense as we work along. So to start, you want to chain 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're going to start by making our first square. So I'm just going to turn the chain, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, skip those 3, and work a double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. So I've got this 3 turning chain here, a double crochet, and then I'm just going to do 2 more double crochet in the last 2 chains. And so what we've created so far is our first square. This is the corner, and our project is going to work, it's going to angle out and grow that way. We're going to work our next spot here and here, and then we're going to work squares 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and it's going to kind of grow and get wider. And then once we get the size we want it, we'll come back down. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do another chain 6. And then we want to turn our work like this. You can kind of flip the little square that we've already made over. And we're going to do just like we did the first time we made a square. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3 chains, and we're going to go in the 4th chain from our hook and work a double crochet stitch. And then we're going to do 2 more double crochet in each of the 2 chains that we have left. Now here it might get a little confusing. This first square, it might be curling over like this, it might be flopped over this way. You want to make sure that it's turned this way. So if you have your square that you've just made here, You want to make sure that this one orients itself there next to it. And so we want to connect these two, and we're just going to do this with a simple slip stitch. We're going to insert our hook beneath this chain in our first block and work a slip stitch. And now, so this is our first one. This is our first row. So on our second row we do 2. So we've done our first block and we want to do a second block right here. So we're going to chain 3.
1, 2, 3.
And then we're going to double crochet 3 stitches along this chain from in our first block.
So 1, 2, and 3.
So now that we've got this done, we can talk about what's going on, and you can possibly see the pattern starting. So this is our very first block, and then we did this block and that block. So if you want to think about it like we do in crochet where we have rows, this block here is like our first row. These two are our second row. And on each row, you get 1 block wider. So on our third row, we're going to have 3 blocks, so they'll go here, here, and here. And then on each sequential row, we're going to add 1 more block, and it'll continue getting wider until it's time to decrease the project. So I'll show you that again, and hopefully you'll start to see the pattern here. So once you get to the end of a row, so we count, once we've done the number of blocks for that row, we're counting this as a row, this as a row. So once you get to the end of the row and you're starting another row, you always chain 6. And then skip 3 chain, come in the 4th spot, and work a double crochet. And then work 2 more double crochet, 1 in each of the following chain spots. And now you've completed that block. This is the first block of our third row. So we want to, again, make sure that our work is turned like this, not like this, because if it's turned like this, we might be going, do we go here? Do we go where do we go? So you want to make sure it's turned like this. And now you can kind of see how we're going to work on this row, which is going to run this way. We're going to work a block here, here, and here. So once we work a block, we need to attach it to the next spot. And so we're going to find the turning chain from this block to the left of it. We're going to insert our hook just in that nice gap there and do a slip stitch. And essentially that slip stitch is going to kind of anchor these 2 blocks next to each other. And now what we're going to do for the next 2 blocks, once we've done the slip stitch, we're going to chain 3. And then work 3 double crochet in that chaining space, in the turning chain space, to be more specific. And so now we've worked 1, 2, we need to work a 3rd one on this row. But before we can work in this spot up here, we need to attach this block to the left of it. So I'm just going to insert my hook in this turning chain in the block to the left of it, in that gap there, and work a slip stitch. And now it's fastened that square, that block in. And then I'm going to chain 3. Whoop, the yarn has a nice little knot there that they tied in the factory. And then in the same spot to make my block, I'm going to work 3 double crochet. And now that we have 3 blocks, we're at the end of our 3rd row. Let's pause here for a moment and we'll talk about what we've done and how the pattern itself works as we get bigger. So you can kind of see how why it's called corner to corner, because we're starting in a corner and we're going to end in the corner on the opposite side. And it'll create a nice square or rectangle shape, whatever you're going for. So whenever we work at these blocks. The first row has 1 block, second row has 2 blocks, third row has 3 blocks, and each row will have more and more blocks. So each of these blocks is made up of a 3 chains that count as our turning chain, and then 3 double crochet. However, the first one on the row is a little bit different than some of these blocks in the middle, because we have to, when we first start a row, we have to do 6 chain, so we have a spot that we can work those 3 double crochet in. If it's not the first stitch from the row, so like this one, it was the first one on this row, so we had to work 6 chain, 3 along here, and 3 up the side as our returning chain, because then that gave us a place for us to work these double crochet stitches. And then we needed to fasten it to the block to the left of it with a slip stitch. But then all these other blocks in the row, every block except for the first one in the row, we just did a turning chain of 3, worked in the chain space from the previous row's block, did a turning chain of 3, and then did 3 double crochet in the turning chain of the previous row's block. And so the pattern keeps building like that. So let's say we want to make a nice 9 by 9 little block pattern here. So I want to start getting narrower. But the issue is, if we keep using the method that we have been, I'm going to end up putting a block right here. However, we just want to put blocks here and here on this row. We don't want to go here, and we don't want to go here. So what we're going to do is now we're going to work a little bit more like we do when we crochet normally. We're going to turn our work, so from right to left, and we're going to slip stitch along the top of this row. So I'm going to do a slip stitch in the first double crochet, then a slip stitch in the next one, and then a slip stitch in this turning chain. And again, that little tail end there, that's because of where they tied the yarn in the factory. So your projects hopefully won't have that. So now this puts us along the side here. And this is where we're going to keep building with the pattern. If we had worked a block here, our work would be turned like this, and we would have slip stitched right in here, and then we would do our 3 chain, work 3 double crochet in here, and keep going. But basically that's where we're at. So we just turn our work, kind of angle it 90 degrees, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then just like before, we're going to work 3 double crochet in the chain space of the block below it.
So 1, 2, 3.
And now you can see that it's starting to work like all our other rows did, just we didn't have to put a block here. Then to finish this row, I'm just going to slip stitch in the chain space of the block to the left, and then once more do 3 chain, 3 double crochet to make the block. And then once we finish the block, we want to fasten it to the block to the left with a nice slip stitch in that turning chain gap. Now normally if we were still going wider, we would work another block up here, but because we're trying to get this to come to this other corner here, we're not going to work there. Instead, we're going to turn our work because we're on the decreasing rows, and we're going to slip stitch along the top here. So just slip stitch along. I'm working a slip stitch in each of the top of my double crochet. And then once you get to this side here where there's the turning chain, go in that hole there and work a slip stitch right there. And then it's as if you had done a block here and slip stitched it here, except you didn't actually have to do a block here. So then we just work one last block like we normally do. Chain 3, and then work 3 double crochet into the turning chain of the block below it. And then once more attach this block with a slip stitch to the block next to it. And there you go. So this is the block where we started, this is the block where we ended. We worked out we got wider with our blocks, and then we showed you how to come in narrower so you can finish and reach the other corner. So here's a little square that I went ahead and crocheted. It's a little corner to corner project. I just want to use this to talk about a couple different things. First off, this is to give you an idea of how color changes can work. It's kind of hard to see on the camera there, but it's like a little face, little cute, creepy kind of face. Like, ee. Anyways, so this is to give you an idea of how the color changing can look and to give you an idea of just the different effects that you can get from corner to corner crochet and why it's so great. Another thing I'll go ahead and mention is if you look at some of these spots, how there's kind of holes. depending on your tension, the size of your yarn, the size of your hook, you may find that you end up with some holes when you work in the different blocks. And of course, you don't really want holes in your project, so there's a couple different ways to change this. The first way is to change your hook. If you have holes, go with a smaller hook size. If that doesn't seem to do the trick, or else it causes other problems that you didn't have before, what you can do is, instead of doing 6 chains or 3 chains, you can let your turning chains only count as 2. So the way you would do this is, every time, instead of doing 6 chains when you start a row, you would only do 5 chains. And then when you do your turning chain, instead of counting 3, you would only do 2 chains before you work your little tile. And so by changing the length of your turning chain, it will help prevent those holes and things. So I hope that this inspires you to go try it. I hope this tutorial was helpful. And as always, comment below. I want to hear from you guys. I know a lot of people struggle learning the corner to corner, so if this video helped you, let somebody else know. It might just help somebody else out too. So get out there and get crocheting. Hello, I am the crochet face monster. Amanda is a really awesome person. You should subscribe to her channel and give a thumbs up on all her videos, because she's so awesome. Bye.